Let's be real for a second. When BTS dropped the dance practice video for Swim, nobody was ready. Nobody. Not the casual fans. Not the hardcore army who had been counting down every single second since the Ararang announcement. Not even the people who swore up and down that they were too cool to cry over a practice room video filmed under fluorescent lights. Nobody was ready for what Jimin was about to do, and what he proved without even trying to prove anything at all. Because that's the thing about ParkJimin. He doesn't come for you with a warning. He doesn't send you a text message that says, "Hey, heads up, I'm about to rearrange your entire understanding of what a performer can be." He just walks into a room, hits his mark, and before you even realize what's happening, you've watched the same 8 seconds 47 times and you're sitting on your floor at 2 in the morning wondering when exactly your heart decided to live outside your chest. The Swim dance practice dropped on March 25th, midnight KST on Bangtan, and let me tell you what the setup looked like. No dramatic lighting. No cinematic camera angles sweeping across the stage. No backup dancers. No pyrotechnics. No wardrobe team who spent 6 months sourcing the perfect fabric. Just a practice room. The same kind of practice room that BTS has been using for over a decade. Hardwood floors that have absorbed years of sweat and footwork. Gray walls, fluorescent ceiling lights humming overhead. A mirror running the length of one wall. 7 men in casual clothes. Hoodies, oversized sweatshirts, loose pants, sneakers. And one static, wide-angle camera that doesn't move an inch for the entire duration of the video. And somehow, that was more electrifying than anything BTS has ever put on a stage. You want to talk about what Jimin proved? Fine, let's talk about it. Because the thing he proved is not complicated. It's not some layered, nuanced argument that requires a 20-minute breakdown with timestamps and frame-by-frame analysis, though trust me, ARMY has already done that and then some. What Jimin proved in that dance practice video is the simplest, most undeniable truth that has ever existed in the K-pop universe. He is built differently from every other performer alive. Full stop. No asterisk. No caveat. No, well, it's subjective. It is not subjective. It is a fact. And by the time this video hit 10 million views, which, by the way, happened faster than any BTS dance practice in history, the entire internet had agreed. Here's what you have to understand first. BTS came back after 3 years and 9 months. 3 years and 9 months of military service, of silence, of absence, so profound that every single comeback rumor sent the fandom into a full-scale spiral. And when they came back with Ararang, an album so deeply rooted in Korean identity, in history, in the emotional weight of what it means to have been away and to return, that the music alone was already carrying more freight than most artists deal with in an entire career. The title track Swim was their statement, their declaration. The song was filmed on Portuguese frigates with Lily Reinhardt and directed by Tanu Muino, and it is, without question, one of the most visually stunning music videos in BTS's already visually stunning catalog. The production was enormous. The scale was enormous. Everything about the official release was enormous. And then they dropped a practice video of 7 guys in hoodies dancing in a room. And somehow that was the thing that broke everyone. Let's get specific about Jimin, because he is the reason we're here, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. From the first 8 count, the moment the music starts and the members begin to settle into position, your eyes go to him. Not because he's in the center. He's not always in the center. Not because he's doing something flashier than everyone else. He's not. It's something more fundamental than placement or flash. It's something in the way his body relates to the music that is different from how anyone else's body relates to anything. It's like the sound enters him differently. Like the beat passes through his skeleton in a way that it just doesn't do for other people, and then comes back out through his fingertips and the line of his shoulders, and the way his head drops at exactly the right millisecond. Swim as a song has a quality that music journalists have described as fluid pressure. The sense that the sound is simultaneously rushing forward and held back, like water building against a dam. And when you watch the choreography from the outside, in that clean, uninterrupted wide shot, you understand what that phrase means. You understand it because Jimin translates it. Every movement in the choreography has a quality of push and pull, of momentum and restraint. And Jimin executes that quality with a precision that doesn't look like precision at all. It looks effortless, which is the hardest thing to achieve in any physical discipline, and the thing that separates the great from the transcendent. Watch his arms. Specifically, watch the moment in the second verse where the choreography calls for an outward sweep followed by a pull back to center. Every member executes that movement. They all do it correctly. But when Jimin does it, there's a half beat of something extra that lives in the transition. Not a pause, not a stop, but a kind of pressure, like he's pushing against air that has weight and resistance. It lasts maybe half a second. And in that half second you understand everything the choreographers were trying to say when they designed the movement. That's what translation means. That's what it means to be a performer of that level. He's not just executing choreography. He is speaking it. He is making it mean something with his body that it might not mean in another body. And that's a gift that cannot be taught and cannot be faked. Now, let's talk about what 3 years did to him. Because this is where things get genuinely emotional, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Jimin went into mandatory military service in December 2023. He completed his service in June 2025. In those 18 months, he did not perform. He did not release music. He existed as a soldier, as a Korean citizen fulfilling his legal obligation, as a person living a fundamentally different kind of life from the one that had defined him since he was a teenager. And when he came out of that service and began working on Arirang, he brought something with him that you can feel in every frame of that dance practice video, even if you can't name it immediately. He brought stillness, not the stillness of someone who is holding back or who is unsure. The stillness of someone who has spent 18 months living inside his own head, who has had time to sit with his talent without performing it, who has had to exist as a human being rather than as an artist, and who came back to the art form knowing exactly what it means to him in a way that he maybe couldn't have articulated before the silence. You can feel it in the moments when the choreography quiets, when the music pulls back and the movement becomes small and close to the body. Other people fill those moments with energy, with presence, with performance. Jimin fills them with something harder to describe. He fills them with actual interior life, with the sense that there is a person in their thinking and feeling and meaning something specific, and that specificity radiates outward to everyone watching. This is what Jimin's growth looks like. Not the addition of some new technical skill, though his technical control has always been exceptional. Not some dramatic physical transformation, though the man is undeniably, almost aggressively beautiful in that hoodie in that practice room. The growth is internal. The growth is in the quality of presence he brings, the weight of what he communicates without a single word. Before the military, Jimin was one of the most compelling performers alive. After the military, he is something else entirely. He is an artist who has been through something, and who carries that experience in his body without making it a show, without using it as material, without performing his own depth. It's just there. It radiates. You feel it. You might not know why you feel it if you're watching for the first time, but you feel it. Let's also talk about the context of the dance practice itself, because the format matters here in a way that people don't always think about. The static wide shot is actually one of the most demanding formats for a performer. There's no editing to help you. There's no close-up to redirect attention when something isn't landing perfectly. There's no atmospheric lighting or color grading to create mood. The camera doesn't move toward you when you do something beautiful or away when you need a breath. It just sits there, recording everything, the whole room, all 7 members continuously. Whatever you bring to the space has to stand on its own, has to communicate from across a room through a lens that has no interest in flattering you. It's brutally honest. And Jimin, who has always been exceptional under that kind of scrutiny, is even more exceptional now. There's a specific moment in the chorus, and if you've watched the video you know exactly which moment I'm talking about even if you can't name it. The choreography shifts into its most expansive sequence, arms reaching, the body extending outward, and there's a kind of collective surge from all 7 members, this explosion of energy that fills the entire practice room. And then it contracts. The movement pulls inward, and there's this hell beat where everything gets quiet in the choreography, where the music is still going but the bodies are momentarily still. In that stillness, every member holds their shape, holds their energy, waits for the next section to begin. And if you freeze the video there and look at Jimin, what you see is not a person who is pausing between movements. What you see is a person who is still dancing, still communicating, still meaning something with his body, even though his body is not moving. That is not something you can teach. That is not something you develop through drilling choreography for 8 hours a day in a HYB practice room, though he has done that too. That is something else. That is the thing that makes ParkJimin, and it does not go away during military service. If anything, it gets sharper. It gets quieter and deeper and more present, which turns out to be more powerful than anything that was there before. The army response to this video was, predictably, absolutely unhinged in the best possible way. Within 6 hours of the upload, the clip of Jimin during the chorus contraction had been viewed, clipped, and shared by literally every corner of the internet. Not just K-pop spaces, not just BTS spaces, general social media, dance communities, music journalists. People who have never listened to K-pop in their lives were being shown this video by their friends because their friends watched it and immediately needed to share the experience of watching it with another human being. The caption on about 80% of those shares was some variation of, "I need you to see what this man just did." Because that is what Jimin does. He creates the urgent need to share what you have witnessed. He makes watching him a communal experience, even when you're alone in your room at 2 in the morning. Let's also just be honest about the fact that the outfit is doing things. It would be dishonest to pretend that the visual element isn't part of this. Jimin in an oversized, distressed, white long-sleeve top and dark pants. Hair tucked under a cap for part of the video, and then loose and visible at other moments, is an aesthetic event. The casualness of the clothes actually amplifies everything happening in the movement because there's nothing to hide behind. No fitted stage costume that structures the silhouette for you. No dramatic color or pattern to draw the eye. Just fabric and movement, and the fabric responds to the movement, and the movement is extraordinary, and your eye has no choice but to follow it everywhere it goes. By the time the video crossed 50 million views, which happened within the week, a number that speaks entirely for itself, the discourse had settled into something that felt less like fandom enthusiasm and more like collective consensus. The conversation wasn't about whether Jimin was exceptional in this video. That was established in the first 24 hours. The conversation had moved into trying to articulate why, which is a much harder and more interesting question, and one that I've been attempting to answer throughout this entire video, and which I will be perfectly honest is not fully answerable. Some of what Jimin does lives beyond language. Some of it is in the territory of things you can point to but not explain, things you can recognize but not replicate, things that exist in the space between the note and the movement, and the camera and the light, and the room and the person watching. That space is his. He owns it in a way that no one else does right now. Here is what is undeniable. ParkJimin went away for 3 years and 9 months. He came back, walked into a practice room, put on a sweatshirt, stood in front of a static camera, and danced. And in doing so, he proved something that the entire watching world immediately understood and immediately agreed on, regardless of whether they had been ARMY for 10 years or stumbled onto the video because it showed up in their feed between a dog video and a cooking tutorial. He proved that artistry of this level is not a phase. It is not a peak that you hit and then slide down from. It is not diminished by absence or time, or the interruption of everything that made you who you are. If anything, it is deepened by those things, made more specific, more present, more real. He proved that some people are simply made to do what they do, not in a comfortable, easy way. Jimin has never suggested that any of this is easy, and the Netflix documentary made very clear that it is anything but. He works, he grinds, he suffers through the gap between what he hears in his head and what he can produce in his body and in his voice, and he closes that gap through a discipline that most people will never understand from the inside. But underneath the work, underneath the craft and the technique and the training, there is something that the work serves and the craft shapes but does not create. There is the thing itself, the raw, unreasonable, undeniable thing that made him a performer in the first place. The thing that makes your eyes go to him in a practice room full of exceptional people. The thing that makes strangers send the video to other strangers with the message, "I need you to see this." That thing never went anywhere. And now the whole world knows it. Swim came out on March 20th, 2026. The dance practice dropped on March 25th. In the space of 5 days, BTS reminded the world why they are BTS, and Jimin reminded the world specifically and personally why he is ParkJimin. Not a concept, not an idol, not a persona, a person. An artist. One of the most extraordinary performers of his generation, standing in a room with fluorescent lights overhead and hardwood floors beneath him, doing what he was born to do, and making it look like breathing. You can deny a lot of things. You can argue about chart positions and streaming numbers and industry politics, and what counts as artistic merit and what doesn't. You can have those conversations. They are valid conversations. But you cannot watch that dance practice video and deny what you are seeing. You cannot look at what Jimin does in those minutes of footage and claim that it is ordinary, or that it is simply good technique, or that it could be replicated by someone else with enough training. It cannot. It is singular. It is his. It has always been his. And after everything, after the hiatus, after the military, after 3 years and 9 months of waiting, it is still, undeniably, completely, absolutely his. Some things cannot be taken away. ParkJimin just proved it. Again.